The Forward Thinker Show is available wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hey, it's Coral, and welcome to the Forward Thinker Show, the podcast where we share the stories and expertise of global leaders in business and technology. Today, we're joined by Jose Osorio, a UKG sales intern and founder and entrepreneur of Consistent 360, a career coaching business to help international students get jobs. Yes. Welcome, Jose, to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming today.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
This is great. I feel like a lot of people, when they think of tech, they don't think of a salesperson, but there's so much importance in sales. It's so important. But I want to start off.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Just a little bit more about myself. I was born in Medellin, Colombia.
Medellin. Like what is it? Carol G.
Karol G. Maluma, J Balvin.
Medellin.
Yeah. But yeah, I was born there, and I lived in Medellin until I was 5 years old, and I moved here in 2009. So I mean, it was great. Honestly, I go every so often. Most of my family's still there, but every day I'm always thinking about the people over there. It's my prime motivator. In everything that I do. But yeah, ever since that, I've been here in the U.S. since I was 5 years old, and just doing my best and looking for opportunities for me and myself and my family.
Yeah, but like here in Miami, it's kind of special because it's not the U.S. It's kind of Miami. It's its own country, honestly. A lot of people say that.
It literally is. I completely agree.
Yeah. So you came to Miami when you were 5 years old, and you came to FIU. How is it that you got interested into the tech world? Like, how did that happen?
Well, absolutely, I wasn't before. Just to be completely honest, a little bit more about my background. I used to play baseball. I was a pitcher. I played baseball since I was 13, 14 years old. Played all throughout high school, and that was my biggest dream, right? That was my biggest dream since I was, 12, 13. That's all I wanted to do. All I did, watch videos, played video games. But once I got into high school, I started getting better in school, started getting a better education, and I was doing okay in both until I had to get to a point in my life where I had to realize what was going to get me more potential, more impact, which ended up being my education. I also ended up injuring my arm, my shoulder, so I had to end up quitting baseball, and honestly, I learned many great lessons from it. I absolutely loved it, but now coming into FIU as a freshman in 2022, in the summer of 2022, I had to kind of make a decision of what I was going to do. And I was originally going to be a sports management major, which a lot of baseball or a lot of students that do sports here in any collegiate level, they ended up doing that major because, one, it's a great access to get into sports after they graduate, or it's not as hard as other majors, so they have more time to focus, right? So I knew that wasn't going to be the path for me, so in a couple months I had to switch majors, and I went into international business, and I think it was a good change because it was a very broad field. I mean, international business, we're in Miami, it's, there's so many things.
It's perfect fit.
Exactly, so I did that, I changed, and I started going into all the clubs here at FIU, Alpha, the Sales Society, AMA, so many more that I don't remember the names. Startup FIU, if you count that as well. But just trying to engulf myself into as many different fields or industries to see what I would like or what I think would be best at. And after, maybe a year of looking, I was finally able to get an internship with UKG, which to do HR and payroll software. So essentially, they're a company that anytime you get a check, they're the one that process it, or also on the talent acquisition and recruiting side. So they're big on tech, and their headquarters are here in Weston, actually.
Wow.
But I had no clue I was going to get myself into that or to sales in general. I had to make a decision quickly in my life on where I was going to go, and it ended up being in sales. So it was just out of curiosity, going into clubs, meeting people, networking. That's where I actually ended up being there. So
yeah. That's great. And during your time at UKG, they sort of taught you on how to sell software. I'm kind of curious because I think for me, I'm a computer science student, so I'm very much like behind the scenes of like building the product. But there's no product if you can't sell it correctly.
Correct.
So do you know what is the process of selling software?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. And I think that when you're selling B2B, these are deals worth millions of dollars. You know, when you're doing enterprise deals, and they're harder to sell, right? Typically, a lot of businesses here in Miami, they're B2C, you know, business to consumers. And once I got into that world, it was completely different, and it was a lot of change, right? So typically, once we got our training and I started getting more kind of involved in it, I kind of understood how it broken down. So let's say you get a company. I'm giving you an example. In Michigan or California, they have between 500 to 1,000 employees, and that can be a contract that's worth $1 million. So that sales process can take anywhere from 3 months to 9 months and even a year because of the amount of employees and the size or other headquarters or locations that they may have throughout the country. So the first point of contact are BDRs, right? And business development reps, their main focus is calling, prospecting, and really trying to get an appointment for the account executive to get a discovery call. And even before that, they're organizing many events throughout the U.S., inviting people to football games, baseball games. We even had an event where we had to cook, so it was fun. Yeah, so UKG is very... they try to expand as much as they can, just get people to understand a little bit more about the product, and it kind of goes into the pipeline of that. So let's say a BDR ends up booking an appointment with the person in Michigan per se, then in the next call, it'll be a discovery meeting between the account executive and the other people in the other company. So typically those calls are between 45 minutes to an hour, and it's just really kind of when you go to a doctor and you're going there to kind of diagnose your needs or diagnose your issues. So very open question. Tell me a little bit more about the company. What do you guys do? So it's just the strategies of getting them to open up. And once they give you, okay, well, we're looking to increase revenue, but we had one problem. We're having a lot of turnover. Oh, what do you mean by turnover? Oh, tell me more about that. So one key that I've learned, and of course I'm not doing it because I'm an intern, but from what I've listened, is that it's really just they say something, you hear it, you answer, and then you go from there. Just seeing what they give you, take it from there, and just expanding and expanding. One thing that our professors here at FIU, they always say is just to peel the layers of the onion, right? So if they tell you, yeah, we've had a little problem with turnover, that initially in my head is triggering, oh, well, we can help with compliance, we can help with more talent acquisition, and that's something that HR for UKG offers. So those discovery calls go like that, between 45 minutes to an hour, and then from there is just as I was telling you before, getting as much information. Why? Because everything that you gather from that call is extremely important, because the next step is to schedule a demo, right? And here, the sales engineer, or what they call a UKG, they're pre-sales solution consultants, right? So their job is to give a demonstration of the product completely, so top down, based on the needs that were gathered on the discovery meeting. So basically on that call, you'll schedule it out with the person if they thought it would be a good fit. That person, which is called the pre-sales technology consultant, gives the demonstration for, could be an hour, it can be 2 hours. If it's different locations, different laws, maybe they're a multinational company in different countries, then there's demos separately for different laws. Right, because when you're dealing with sensitive information in HR, it's important that things are right, especially for legal issues, also data. They can be data breaches. Yeah. So really, the pre-sales technology consultant's responsible to be doing that, while the account executive is answering any questions. So from there, let's say they continue doing demos, they continue liking the process. That can last anywhere between 1 or 2 months, depending on how fast things move. Because again, the other people are also evaluating competitors. So in the space, there's Oracle, there's Ceridian, there's Paycor, Paychex, Paycom. So there's a lot of competition, which of course all of these companies are great as well. It's just some companies have different needs. Some companies have different things that they need. And if UKG can offer that, then hopefully it will be the correct fit. So that can, again, last between anywhere to 2 to 3 months. So once you have 4 to 5 months of a process, they agree, then that's where the negotiation, the pricing starts. And then from there, that's where it's pretty much
That's the
make
fun
it.
part.
Yeah, exactly. It's make it or break it because really all these products offer very similar technologies. It's really how you position yourself. If you can give them discount, if you can kind of upgrade the deal with more, let's say, locations using the HR or payroll technology. So from that point, is really it could come down to price. It could be coming down if you like the salesperson in general. The length of the contract that goes more into legal stuff, but that's pretty much how it would go in B2B. That's for a mid to enterprise level company. There's deals that can go for 2 to 3 years.
Oh my god!
Because typically these contracts are from 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
But then there's small business, right, which could be 100 employees or less, which could be done in a month. That back-to-back weeks, everything gets done. Discovery call, demo, another demo, negotiation, pricing, and the deal gets closed.
Wow.
So it varies, but of course, when you're in mid to enterprise levels, that's where the most commission checks will be coming in for the sales reps.
And then, like, in the demo, do they use, like, the actual application, like, the real software, or do they use, like, do they show, like, a PowerPoint with a video? Like, how does that work? Okay,
good question. And really, in that demo, that's why the discovery call is so crucial, because everything that is said in that call is tailored to the demo. So pretty much from what I've seen in a couple of demos that I've attended, you grab the logo, you grab the colors, you make the application. But yeah, it's pretty much tailoring everything that you can to the product, to the company.
Okay. So it's like, they don't manipulate the software actually, they just change it in like a PowerPoint or?
No, so usually they have a way of kind of giving them access to how it will work. So you know how when you're on Zoom, you can share your screen? So pretty much what the pre-sales consultant would do would be like, hey guys, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and show you how everything would function based on your business. So he would share his screen, but it's UKG's software. So then the company they're trying to sell to has their logo, their colors, their specific needs. If they need a lot of talent acquisition or they have issues with clocking in and out because they have employees doing many different type of shifts. So if that's the point, then that's what they'll be doing.
Yeah,
so.
I guess the difference between like selling like a physical product and selling software is that you really have to pay attention to how it, like what problems the company has and how this software can help them.
Yes, it's really connecting those two things. And at the end of the day, when you're selling that type of software, it's really listening to the person and letting them talk. I mean, I'd say that sales is just leaning back, listening to them as best as you can, and just asking the best questions, asking questions that one will help them get to the end result, cause a little pain, and yeah.
So how do you handle objections? One of the business representatives, they're like, oh, is this really how this software works? What if I just use another company's software? Like, what makes this better? Like, how do you handle, like, the different types of objections?
Well, in UKG, I know that they usually use not a selling approach, it's more consultative. So if someone gives you an objection, you have to reside with them. You have to be empathetic. And I think that's in general sales, that when someone, if that's how they feel, you gotta empathize it. So, Mr. Customer, I understand how you feel, and with all honesty, other customers felt the same way. Really, when we're going through a process like this, it's okay to feel this way, but here's how I can help you. So, let's say if they give you an objection on, oh, well, other companies can offer me the same, you can kickstart and give them, well, you have a good point, they can offer the same, but tailored to a small business like you, we have this, and that, X and Y, Z. Not only that, we could offer a better price. So you'll be getting a better deal both ways. Because there's companies, for example, like ADP, right, where they focus more on small businesses, right? So company that has 25 employees, 15, 20 employees, ADP is going to be the biggest competitor in that. UKG's software is tailored to employees that has 100, or to companies that have 100 or more employees. So really, every company is different, but from what I've seen and from the deals that I've encountered working with my mentors, working with my account executives, is we're working with people that have 90 to more than employees. So really, if it's a company that has less than that, other softwares are better tailored to that. Because if you have a business deal and you see that you can realistically can't help the customer, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to do that deal, because at the end of the day, both parties are going to end up hurting. UKG on the money-wise, they won't receive as much money, and then the other company, they won't have as much benefits since it's a small business. So it just really depends on the software. It depends on what type of business it is, but there's millions of businesses in America, so there's always someone to go out for. And everyone's always increasing or decreasing, so there's upsells and there's just so many things.
So many things. I guess something that I was thinking about is you work a lot with international students, and you're also international as well. Do you feel like coming from your cultural background, has that helped you in your sales at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to give you a little perspective, when my parents came to the United States, my dad was working at a pizza shop, telemarketing, same thing with my mom. They would have 3 to 4 jobs in between both of them. And it's that kind of drive and that persistency that you have to continue going to attribute to your family and help them out in any way. It sticks to sales, because the name of a game of sales is just numbers, repetition, and just pure volume and following up. If they tell me no 1 week, then I'll tell them yes. They'll tell me yes in the next month. Yeah. Right? Because sometimes, for example, these contracts, again, they're 3 years long. They may like you, but they're physically bounded by a contract. Once that contract ends, who's going to end up calling you if you did a good job prospecting? Right? So at the end of the day, for sales, when you're making calls and everything, is just being a human, sometimes not being robotic and doing the same thing, just understanding them. But
I guess because in Hispanic cultures, we're a bit more conversational, we're more relational. And so when we're listening to someone talk about their problems, even if it's business problems, we can actually relate and like help them understand better. Because in American culture, it tends to be, I like to say, a bit more individualistic.
Yes.
I found. So I feel like, let's say you're from Colombia, is your family, like that process, it's helped you in your sales journey.
Yes. I mean, since I was a kid, I've never been the most outspoken or the most outgoing, but I know how to kind of turn it on and off. If I'm doing my homework, if I'm in my desk, I'm focused, I'm putting on my hoodie, my glasses and everything, and I don't know about the outer world, type of thing. But when it's my time, such as right now, and I have to be outgoing, I have to smile, I have to be charismatic, I know how to turn it on and off. And I think it's a good mix, because if you're too shy, then being in a sales role it'd be really hard for you to fit in, right? Because you're always talking to people, you always kind of have to be intrusive, interrupting, right? But if you're too outgoing, you may cross the line as well, when it can get to a personal, level as well. So, yeah. I mean, being Hispanic and being in that culture where everyone's family's a very important part,
family-oriented,
where, you're always speaking to someone, everyone's saying good morning, good afternoon. I mean, it's just things that you see there. I think it's a huge advantage, because, one, if you're in Miami, you're going to have a very similar experience.
Yeah, everyone knows each other here.
Exactly.
For some reason.
Exactly. And then when you go up north, or you're making calls up north, it can serve you very well as well, because they see that you're making the effort, that you're talking to them, you're going the extra mile, when other reps, may not be doing that, right? So I think the charismatic part of you is always going to help you.
Yeah. I know you work a lot with Consistent 360. You work a lot with international students. And I think there's a lot of, when it comes to getting like jobs for international students, I've heard that it's hard for them.
Yes.
Could you explain more about like the problems that they're facing right now?
Okay, so what I do in my business is I help students in Latin America with the college admissions process, helping them apply to their dream colleges here, with scholarships, helping them be more productive student and kind of get adjusted to the life here, and also with the internships, right, how they can prepare professionally. And the thing is that it's not per se easy to get an F1 visa, but it's the most usual way, right? You apply to a 4-year degree here in the United States, you get your I-20, you present it to the the people in the government of your country, and then you get your F1 visa. But that visa is available for 4 years.
Wow.
Right? So if students don't start preparing early and don't start getting exposure to different companies or different networking events or jobs and experiences in general, by the time they're in their junior or senior year, it can be very hard for them to even find an internship or a job that offers to either pay for their green card or pay for their OPT for an extra year. In general, my recommendation and the reason why I help students throughout this whole process is that if they come prepared already to the U.S., by the time they're in their freshman year, they have 3 years at least to prepare, to get experiences, to have internships, to network with key individuals that have those funds to be able to help them out. Yeah. And that's really where I focus. And because in general, it's very hard to stay here. It's very hard to stay here. But if you do the preparation right and you're not lazy and really have that drive to go to the clubs, get a job in school. Once you get a job in school, then you can apply to fellowships or internships, right? Or a research program. Once you do the research program, they rejected you from the internship, but the next summer they did. Or you stayed in contact with the recruiter. There's just so many ways about it. Using LinkedIn. LinkedIn's such a great tool because I can get in touch. You're from Dominican Republic. I can get in touch with professionals in Dominican Republic right now. I can send them a message, connect with them, say that, hey, I'm interested in what you do in Dominican Republic. I like the operations or business. Can we set up a 10-minute chat? I'm giving you an example top of my mind, but it's just you can get so creative with it that the opportunities are endless. It's just students being able to prepare. And that's where I bring in my expertise and what I've accumulated these past 3 years and a half of just preparing, getting your resume ready, getting a LinkedIn, starting content, building your personal brand, because those things are 90% of students are not doing it. No, so what we're doing right now, it's very hard to find.
It's a very small group of people. You know, on LinkedIn, there's 1 billion users, but only 1% create content.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. So that makes me feel better.
Yeah. So even if you just post a little bit about your interests, it can help you a lot. And that is something that international students don't even know. And there's so much benefit, as we said earlier, from coming from a Latin American background, how you can get a job and things like that, like sales, for example, having those sort of employees in your company, because not only do they understand something, but they understand something in a different language as well. Think about that. You come into a country and you're an expert, but not only are you an expert, but you're an expert and you can say it in 2 languages.
Yes.
That is massive business opportunity. I think that. It's good that you're doing this right now, because right now we're in Miami. Such an international community in and of itself. In an FIU, go Panthers. We're an international community as well. I want to pivot the conversation into something else. I want to hear what your thoughts are on the Miami tech scene, because you've worked in the South Florida tech ecosystem. I need to hear your perspectives, because I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I'm telling it to the camera and telling it to you, but I'd say that Miami is going to be the best city in the United States in the next 10 years. And the reason why is, one, the tech. For example, Jeff Bezos just moved down here.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos just moved down here. Emerge, they got funded from Silicon Valley Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
many companies are moving their headquarters down here in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, many hedge funds as well, finance. If you look at, I read this the other day, New York lost $1 trillion worth of money or worth of business, and I think it was in 2023 alone.
Wow.
And most of it went down to Miami.
Wow.
And the reason why I say is because, one, the weather. I mean, if you look outside, it is raining a little bit.
It is raining a little bit.
But we're 70 degrees right now, right? And then there's cities right now that are under snow. They're under blizzards, right? So the economy is always running here. There's always something. I think it's a hustler's community. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Then the real estate market here is absolutely great. It's one of the best markets in the U.S. Even though it is a little bit expensive, real estate in Miami, there's hundreds of condos being built right now for people not only that want to move here in the U.S. but also internationally. So all of these aspects plus taxes. There's no personal income taxes here in Florida. Apart from Texas or other states like Nevada, there's not a lot of states that have that, right? So putting all those things together, people that have a lot of money, companies, they want to move down here for those reasons, right? And after COVID, what was the name of it? Yeah, New York and San Francisco, for example, which are the biggest tech hubs, right? They lost a lot of people. They lost a lot of big players in the community because of COVID as well.
Yeah, and the
layoffs and everything. So Miami kind of serves like a window of new opportunity, of freshness, of what Silicon Valley or New York used to be. So,
but even then, even if you don't want to live in Miami, there is a lot of talent, and international talent, really good international talent that comes from Miami. So you can get a really good pool of talent of people who can speak 2 languages or more, and then you can bring them to your city so they can Miami-fy your city too.
Yes.
Yeah, get all of that experience, because it's like, I don't want this to seem like we're hating on San Francisco or New York. We love you guys.
Yeah.
We love you guys. We're just saying that there's a lot of opportunity from coming in, and there's a lot of opportunity from bringing people out too.
And at the end of the day, it's cycles. I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at it, New York was the best city in the 80s and the 90s, right? And then San Francisco came around with everything that has to do with tech. You have the Facebooks, you have the Apples, they're always there, right? And it's cycles, right? It's Miami's time now. But, you know, another big city that's growing, for example, is in Nashville. A lot of people are going there as well. Austin, Texas as well. It's growing. Dallas. And these are cities that have a lot of young people moving in. They want cheaper prices. There's just a lot of opportunity. Whereas cities like New York or Chicago or San Francisco, it's already saturated, right? But again, if you know how to move yourself in these cities, you make connections, you can still be successful in New York and San Francisco. Like, for example, this year is my first time going to New York. I'm going in May, and that's my dream since I was a little kid. And if I ever have the opportunity to live there, I'll absolutely take it, right? Because, again, New York is still the capital of the world. It's still the king in finance. There's Wall Street, right? All the banks are there. So it's still the place to be at where it comes to money, right? But Miami's growing. Miami's getting there. And eventually, I feel that in 10 years, 20 years, we'll have a great majority share as well.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be using, like, both places, or, like, living in both places. Like, Miami in one time of the year, and then they're home the other time of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a great combination. I mean, if I can do that, I'll definitely
you probably,
take it.
when your business scales.
Exactly. And then that comes also with the remote lifestyle. I mean, everything that I like to do is remote. I think that even though it isolates people a little bit, I feel like the business opportunities of working remote, of having digital companies, is great.
And having a software companies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, for example, you just brought that up. For UKG, a lot of the sales reps are remote.
Wow.
And why? Because you're hopping on Zoom calls every single day. You're meeting new people on LinkedIn. A lot of the things that we did before the pandemic, they aren't happening as much, right? And companies have found that this has been way more productive, because imagine if you have to travel to, for example, Chicago for a business meeting, right? You can have 3 days worth of business meetings without a trip physically, right? So that's just one thing. Of course, when you're closing $1 million deals, you have to go visit the people in person. But in terms of productivity, I think remote really, really amps up a lot of things. And then again, for my personal business, I've had a lot of conversations with many people about this, and even my dad, that he has his own. But I think that when you have a digital business, you're really tapping into what the world will be like one day, especially with AI and everything going digital. Social media, and if you can get an expertise on that and do something different that doesn't have to be the corporate route, then there's a lot of opportunities there as well.
That sounds good. Well, I want to, like, finalize, go over your thoughts. We talked about, you know, selling software and, like, how to do it. We talked about the importance of having international talent, and even though and you understand the struggles of having international talent. And we also talked about Miami and the Miami scene, and you should come to Miami, come to Emerge, or something like that. Yeah. So I love this conversation. I guess your business about like helping international students, what would you say what would you say to them right now so that they can feel like inspired to, because let me rephrase the question, sorry. You've done a lot, right? You've gotten to where you are because of like you have your own business, you have your content, you have your internship, like all of that. What advice would you have to someone so that they could have that level of success?
That's a great question. One thing that I always say is just in order to be successful in life is how you position yourself, how you're moving your, call it like a chessboard. How are you moving your pieces every day strategically? Everything that you have to do has to be calculated. And it's important to take risks, but when you're taking risks, just make sure that they're on the right path. What I mean by calculated is that if I am projecting to do something in 3 years, everything that I do has to have a purpose, right? So my biggest dream, again, as I've told you before, is that I want to be one of the biggest and most successful entrepreneurs here in South Florida, right? That's what I want to do, right? But in order to do so, I need to move in unity, right? So what I'm doing right now is that I'm acquiring the right skills to be able to complete that and to be able to do that in 3 to 5 years. So what? Digital marketing. I'm acquiring sales skills. Acquiring knowledge about the education industry. Also about real estate, because that's one thing here in Miami, right? Learning how to persuade, how to think. It's endless ways of just self-developing, self-education, and that's things that people simply don't do. And if you're part of that 1 to 5% of people that just self-educate, consume books, read articles, listen to podcasts, it's gonna put you ahead over everyone. So every move that I'm doing right now, it's strategic to be able to get to my endpoint. So once I get a good job, I want to learn as much as I can in that place to be able to use it and utilize it for my business. So it's simple as that. Just making all your decisions strategic in order for an end goal. Like if you tell me right now that you wanna, I don't know, you wanna own a museum right now in 20 years, right? Giving you a wild example, how can you position yourself to own a museum? One, major in history, so you can know how to understand history. All the things that you read about has to be about history. Then step 2, get a good paying job, right? That will pay you a lot of money. It can be in somewhere related in that field where you can start acquiring capital in order to start saving up to buy the artwork, to buy the museum. You know what I mean? So once you do that, then you can multiply the money. So how can you multiply the money? You have to learn how to invest. So it's strategic moves that move you around throughout your years to be able to get your endpoint.
Yeah. What you said today is so important. Just having purposeful, what I'm getting out for the whole thing is like it's all about being purposeful in your actions, whether that's in sales, software sales, whether that's in professional development, whether that's for international students, whether that's for, living in Miami. It's always having a purpose and being strategic about it. So I love that. Thank you so much, Jose. I think we learned a lot today.
Yes.
I think
thank you.
A lot of people underestimate young people and like their intelligence, but I think you're in that 1%, my guy.
I mean, it's again, it's just how do you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Really, it's that all. It's just putting your head down, putting in the work, and just I read this in a book called Atomic Habits. It's just you have a goal, and it's how do you develop your systems every single day? How do you develop the steps towards that? And really, if you want to be an astronaut, if you want to be in finance, if you want to be a police officer, whatever it can be, it comes down to your daily habits. Really everything that comes down, that's your foundation. So if you say you're going to do something, if you say that, for example, you're going to work out 365 days in a row, do it, right? Because if you can't promise yourself that, how are you going to promise yourself once you're a business owner and you're responsible for 5 payrolls, and you're responsible for spending $1,000 on ads. Say what you want to mean. And for me, that's my biggest thing for 2024. If I tell myself I need to wake up every day at 6:30, I have to do it. I can't
make it
snooze,
happen.
right? And it's just that coming down to the foundations of your habits. So.
That's good. Thank you so much, Jose. Now I'm going to give you the floor so you can promote anything. How can people reach you so they can pick your brain a little bit more?
Absolutely. Can I look at the camera?
Yes, you can look at the camera now.
So everyone, thank you so much for just listening. I really appreciate you for having me on. I think this is a wonderful experience. And, I mean, I've done my own episodes. I have my own podcast as well.
Ooh, promote it.
Yes, and it's my first time being on one, so it's really a nice experience to just be able to talk to someone as expertise that you are in this and tech, and I'm really thankful. And a little bit more about myself. Yes, if you want to learn a little bit more about what I do, you can hit me up on Instagram, on my YouTube, on my LinkedIn. Everything's Jose Osorio Suarez. There you can find a little bit more about my content, really what I do to help students, and also a little bit more about my business called Consistent 360, which that's the name of it on Instagram. And essentially, that's my side overall in general, what my family and I do. I have the end, the education, is that we help families in Latin America come to the United States and gain a legal status through real estate investing. So pretty much my father and my mother work on is that through the power of LLCs and corporations and being able to build these structures up, people can invest here in the United States and be able to get a legal status, which that's a whole nother topic. You're a student that wants to come to the United States, I'm your guy for that. If you're a parent, a family that eventually want to move to the United States one day, I can help you out with that. But the power of education, real estate in the future, Miami, I'm telling you guys, it's definitely going to be possible. And it's going to become one of the best cities in the United States and in the world. And, that's really what I can say. Find me on my Instagram, Jose Osorio Suarez, on my LinkedIn. Have it the same name on that. And I really hope that this podcast and this episode helped a lot of people and that you guys enjoyed it as much as you can.
This is going to help a lot of people, man. Thank you.
And of course.
Yay!
Thank you for listening to the Forward Thinkers Show.